Alright guys, I've got another 3-game Jaleva series for you with your best buddy here, Dawts. We can call this series the Revenge of Dawts. And let's get right into it. We'll be playing Tassiger again. My opening hand, first 7 has a Tendrils, only 1 land with a Mox Diamond, a top, a Mind Over Matter. It is pretty horrible, so that's an easy bin. 6 card hand I get is Ad Nauseam, Grim Monolith that feeds into Gilded Lotus, 2 lands, and a Remand. Pretty good 6. Unfortunately, we're going second, so we're down a tempo and a card. He leads Windswept Teeth. We're going to lead Command Tower because we got nothing to do. Plays a tap Breeding Pool. Drown Catacomb. Get an Imperial Seal. Go ahead and throw the Grim Monolith out first. Try to get that Gilded Lotus up. He taps it to Liliana, which I'm kind of happy about because now I can get the Gilded Lotus down. Go ahead and pitch the Windfall because we are on this Ad Nauseam plan. Gilded Lotus while he's tapped down. Pass and protect it with the Remand. We can simply cast Ad Nauseam on turn, even if it's not a kill, for a lot of card advantage here, though that Liliana on board is fairly scary. Once it gets rolling, he does have the kill for Gilded Lotus, which is unfortunate. We can no longer protect our combo with the Remand. I guess you could technically say I could have used the Gilded Lotus Command Tower to just untap the Grim Monolith and try to go for Ad Nauseam on my turn that way. But I decided protecting the Gilded Lotus would be better. Though if you think about it, yeah, because then I wouldn't have been able to protect it with the Remand anyway. That was the thought process. And the Gilded Lotus is just better. Go for Ad Nauseam, and unfortunately, he's got the Force of Will. And that's pretty much the end of this game. I was all in on that Ad Nauseam. He tapped out, and I thought I had him. Didn't wait, and he had the Force, so we put an LED on top with that Imperial Seal for our try to instant kill him while he was tapped out. So, because of that, we're going to be able to Jaleva twice. He counters the first one. LED right back into it, but it doesn't really matter. He's got a Lily on the board that can sack or split piles at this point, so we've already lost. Yeah. In fact, there's almost no point to even playing the Jaleva. Though I guess he countered it 2 cantrip. So, game 1 in the books. Now, game 2 is an epic game. An awesome game. So, my turn to play first. We like playing first. 2 land hand, has 2 kind of dead cards in Grapeshot and Labman, but it's got a mana drain to sit behind. And going down cards against him is just not good in general. And the hand is playable with just the mana drain, though not spectacular by any means. Top deck 2 lands, which is almost exactly what we want to see. In one-on-one, I almost feel like if I made one-on-one changes to this deck, it might just be add lands. And one-on-one against these controlling type decks, if you could, if this deck could just pass more and make land drops, I think it could go late against them much easier. So we're happy to draw lands. We still haven't hit any real form of gas. He doesn't have really that much in his yard yet to run out Tassiger, but we wouldn't mind if he did because we're just camping behind this mana drain. He goes and plays a Scryland. We get our first active good top deck that's not a land, and in Frantic Search, and that we can now pitch the Grapeshot and the Labman for better cards. And we're going to do just that on his end step. Goes for Frantic Search, no counter. Grim Monolith and Vandal Blast are much better than both Laboratory Maniac and Grapeshot, though Vandal Blast isn't particularly great in this matchup because he doesn't run a lot of artifacts. It isn't out to his Null Rod. We look at his hand, and with a probe off the top, and here's where we go, oh shit. He's got a Condescend, a Dismiss, a Memory Lapse, a Stubborn Denial, 2 more lands, and one of them is a bounce land, so essentially 3 lands. He could be up 7 mana of us on board if we don't get good top decks here. It's going to be very, very hard to slam Future Sight against that many counter spells. This one is only a 4 spike for the moment, but once he gets any tempo and can slam that Tasigur down, once he starts trading some of these other counter spells out, so I'm thinking he wants to trade the Dismiss and the Memory Lapse and the Condescend. Well, the Condescend as fast as possible, and he'll trade the Memory Lapse and Dismiss when he can as well, so that he can get Tasigur down and then slam the Stubborn Denial. So at this point I'm going, this is going to be a very, very tough game. We get another land top deck, which is incredibly good. We'll try to put down a Grim Monolith, and he's going to go ahead and Memory Lapse. That is perfectly fine. Plays land and passes again. I think at this point he smells the mana drain and does not want to walk into it. Let's try Grim Monolith again. Still looking for more top deck lands, just to be able to try to slam lots of these combo cards all at once. He hasn't really got a proactive way to beat me yet. Let's try to start absorbing some of these counters. He'll trade with Dismiss, which, neither of us kind of benefit card here because he gets to redraw a card, and this is just my commander coming from command zone. So, he can't let it land, obviously. So, really, I'm just going, I'd rather him have a random card than a counterspell. And then I choose to untap this Grim Monolith here instead of playing the Imperial Seal, because I think I'm going to need that mana to push through. And now that I'm finally tapped down, I'm going to let him go into Tasigur, I think, is the plan, and maybe able to push something through. And in fact, he does delve away those cards. I don't want him to get back with Tasigur to get his 1 mana counterspell online. I'm going to open with the Vandal Blast, hoping he decides to Stubborn Denial it, thinking not only turning off this Grim Monolith actively lets us trade as a 2-for-1 type deal, but I pretty much would have to get this and make it much harder for me to storm out with this No Rod in play because of how many artifacts I play. It's just a really strong card against me. So he in fact does use a Stubborn Denial, which I'm happy about also because I opened this Notion Thief, which is part of the reason I ran it out right away. Now I can slam Notion Thief and turn off potential card draw he has, as well as set up this Time Spiral and this Windfall to be winning lines. So, bam. High Tide. Now at this point, this is the turning point in the game. When I top deck this High Tide, I realize I now have a real shot at winning this game. The idea is going to be pretty simple. I can't just go for the High Tide now and win. I don't know why I paid an extra life there. That was weird. I put Force of Will on top. And the idea is I can bend the Force of Will, I can bend the Future Sight to the Force of Will on my next turn, have him have to double counter this Windfall, and then go off with the Time Spiral behind it. Now he activates his... I also pass the second main phase because of this mana drain. If you want your mana drain to clump, to be able to cast a bunch of stuff, you always want to pass to your second main phase before you do anything. And he's going to go ahead and I give him back the Go for the Throat instead of the counter spell. And he's going to go ahead and try to kill Notion Thief, which we're going to use our mana drain on, and then we'll get 2 extra mana on a turn, which will let us curve out perfectly into the Time Spiral. So we're going to make perfect efficient use of all the cards in our hand. And try to combo off by the skin of our teeth here. So here comes the big moment. Will he go to counter the High Tide? Whether he does or not, we're going to force whatever he tries to stop. We know he's a Condescend, but I really did not want to have a war over my High Tide. And we go for the Windfall first. He goes for Snapcaster Mage on Stubborn Denial. Force a Snapcaster Mage. In order for his Condescend to not let me draw those cards off the Windfall, which, good odds I don't even win off that. His deck is pretty dense. I wouldn't necessarily auto-win. He's got a good threat on board. My artifacts are turned off. I probably would win if he doesn't let this Windfall resolve. But if I resolve this Time Spiral behind it, there's almost no way I'm going to lose. The Windfall, on the other hand, would just draw me like 6 cards. Or I guess 4 cards if he doesn't recounter. But still, not a whole lot. I kind of typed in a smiley face because I was really hoping that's exactly how that would play out. And we're going to spiral, untap all our lands, and draw 14. Probe, bunch of stuff that's dead because of the null rod. I don't really feel like cantripping. Recurring Insight is obviously dead here. I don't really see any reason to grape shot him or his Tasigur, despite the fact that he has nothing in his graveyard. He's got plenty of mana. But we hit the windfall again. So now we can go from 14 cards to 26. Re-hit High Tide, and with Hurkyl's Recall, Artifact to bounce the null rod, Artifact mana out the wazoo, Yawgmoth and Mind's Desire. He is overly dead. So that was a sweet comeback and a uphill battle. So game 2 was awesome. We both had pretty damn good hands. So that is game 2. But I would not be doing my buddy Dawts justice if I did not show you the Revenge of Dawts game 3. So we get a pretty good hand here. It's got a Thoughtseize against him. It's got a Ponder to look for a turn 1 land drop. High Tide is an engine. We got a Mystical Tutor potentially to do even more crafting because we have 3 shuffle effects here. We can go ahead and run the Ponder out right away on turn 1 and then just cherry pick 1 card and shuffle the rest away if we choose to. He leads with Temple Deceit. I ponder. Now at this point, when I'm pondering here, I want that Frantic Search to get the Frantic Search High Tide engine, even though I don't have a whole lot of control in my hand. And I want to use a Mystical Tutor to go get control. The issue I'm not sure whether I want to do or not is draw the Past in Flames. I know I don't want the Grape Shot, so I haven't really decided at this point whether or not I want the Past in Flames. The Past in Flames costs a lot to get online, and assuming he counters my initial High Tide or whatever, assuming he does what he's supposed to, I feel like it's just kind of a win more and kind of slow for what I've got. Even though it could set up a decent Tendrils, I don't have a tutor yet to engine it to be a guaranteed kill. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Frantic Search and upkeep a Mana Drain to camp behind. Go ahead and get an Underground Sea. He plays Demonic Tutor, and I'm not very happy about this. He thinks for a while with his Demonic Tutor, and that is very smart of him because he chooses an excellent card. Thoughtseize. What a kick in the nuts. This hand was very, very good, but as long as he doesn't Thoughtseize the Tendrils, taking any other card makes it much, much weaker. Taking my Thoughtseize wouldn't really bug me at all, but taking my Mana Drain would be the next thing. It doesn't superly bug me because I can just kind of all in him on my turn with this and try to hit something good, but it's not necessarily great. At least I can go into Jaleva at the least, but considering I blank a lot of his removal in that area, and he sometimes is very easily able to kill her, despite her being very good, hitting lots of good cards from him. I'm not super worried about it. I really don't want to take the Frantic Search or the High Tide, and the worst would be the High Tide because I am short on mana, and he thinks for a while and then he correctly chooses the High Tide. Now I Thoughtseize him. I see he has a Putrefy, a Sultai Charm, and a Snapcaster Mage, so I'm thinking this isn't incredibly horrible, except for he's got 3 land drops, so I really don't have a lot of time to sit here with no land drops and be able to play any sort of game against him. So I'm always going to take the Snapcaster Mage because he's a Thoughtseize and a Demonic Tutor in his ben. We do not want him flashing back either of those. Now at this point, I'm really hoping he slams Tasker into this Mana Drain. Potentially because I have the Frantic Search, it's not the smartest idea because it lets me filter colored mana. And then I get to see 3 and he could potentially get screwed. But I really wish he would have, but he, being not a bad player, he is not going to slam Tasigur. Though I could have almost thought that he's top-decked the counter here, because if he doesn't top-deck the counter, he could easily just be sitting and playing land go, but either way he Thoughtseize me and knows I don't have land drops. I am the one who's forced to take action because he can just sit there and slowly build a better and better board where I'm just sitting there and nothing. I cannot camp behind that Mana Drain forever. I could have grabbed Soul Ring with this and then continued to camp behind the Mana Drain, just taking the Soul Ring as 2 mana sources and just kind of sat on top decks and played a really long game against him. The other option would just be not using the Vamp Tutor at all and hoping he gets greedy and eventually drops into that Tasigur. But instead, I'm going to grab Wheel and hope he did not top deck a counter spell and try to go Frantic Search to see 2 more cards and then go into Wheel. Unfortunately, not only does he top deck a counterspell, he top decks a scry counterspell and one of his limited mana counterspells when I tapped out, which is absolutely horrible for me. Because now he gets a free Tasigur, doesn't have to deal with the mana drain anymore. He portents to potentially find even more counterspells or something good. We are pretty much forced to slam the wheel and hope he hasn't found one yet to have any chance at winning this game. So he doesn't have one, which is great, so we get to wheel him out. He top decked a land with the portent, I guess. The hand we get is not spectacular. It's got a tutor, but with no protection, we have to fight through a brand new 7, which potentially has multiple counter spells. We have no counters to back it up. The Cabal Ritual makes me want to go grab Yogg-Win, because Yogg-Win is just an instant win with this setup we've got here. The Opal is pretty dead right now. The Copy Artifact is pretty dead right now. The lands are okay. But we've got multiple dead cards and no super strong cards other than the tutor. He memory lapses my top of deck tutor, which is another kick in the balls. We're going to go ahead and Sylvan Library. And I'm going to go ahead and try to put Yogg-Win on top. Now, I don't think if this game goes much longer I'm going to win now that his Tasigur is online. So I'm pretty much forced to action here. He plays Sylvan Library again that I had to bounce on the last turn. I think, yeah, I pretty much had to bounce on the last turn and he'd easily just be able to eat through 2 more cards. I'm going to Cabal Ritual and try to bait him with Deleva, but he's not going to take it, and I get horrible hits, and there comes Yogg-Will, and he says no thanks. So that is that game. So, good deal there. Good games, good 3-game series. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and that's it for now. Moxnix signing.